Good afternoon. Welcome to the Seneca County Industrial Development Agency Audit Committee meetings. Today we're having a joint IDA, EDC, and the Seneca County Funding Corp Audit Committee meetings, 3 in a row. So we'll start with the IDA meeting first. We do have a quorum. The first item on the agenda is approval of the Audit Committee meeting minutes from September 12th. Everyone received a copy. Any changes or comments? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion carried. Next on the agenda is the presentation of the IDA board, well, to the IDA board committee, the audit and management letter.
All right, Mike, if you want to take it away.
All right, I'm Mike Tabatz. I'm a partner with MMB and Company. In the additional documents that Kelly handed out this afternoon, the executive summary is what I'm going to stick to. I know you folks all received the full audit in advance. Hopefully you had a chance to look through it. But the executive summary really is just a much quicker document to get through, look at the numbers. And really for the IDA, I would say 2023 was from a financial statement standpoint a pretty good year. If you open right up to page 1 of the executive summary, it's over.
Oh, yeah.
Not yet in the packet. Sorry about that. So on page 1 there, on top of the page, you'll see the statement of net position. And really, operationally, somebody says how'd the IDA do this year. You can look at that line that says total net position. There was an increase of $119,000 this year. That's basically the net income, the retained earnings, if you will, to compare it from the IDA to a corporation. A lot of the variances there on the statement of net position. Oh, and I should mention this is a combined statement of net position for the operating fund and the revolving loan fund. So this is combined there. You'll see that increase. Mainly, you'll see that increase was driven by operating revenues. New agency fees in the operating fund is what really drove the increase in the net position this year. And as we were talking about just before the meeting started, there was an unqualified or an unmodified opinion. We didn't identify any material weaknesses or any significant deficiencies throughout the audit. So the next couple of pages will kind of break it down between the operating fund and the revolving loan fund. So flipping over to page 2 is a look at the balance sheet statement of net position for the operating fund, comparing where things ended 2023 with back to a year ago in 2022. Few things I just want to highlight on here. You'll see the accounts receivable jumped up pretty good. That's just related to the timing of claiming some reimbursements from New York State. So those were outstanding at year end mainly. And you'll see the non-current assets, the accounts receivable net, is down to 0 this year. That $98,000 that was there in 22, that's moved up into current. And that represents that final agency fee payment from Del Lago that will be coming in 2024. So, those are kind of the big variances on there. And then one other thing I wanted to point out, in 2022, in the non-current assets, you'll see a line that says net pension asset of $45,000, and that's 0 this year. Down in non-current liabilities, you'll see a net pension liability of $118,000. Doesn't have anything to do with the IDA's operations. It's strictly at recognizing a piece of the New York State pension system liability. The state pension system went from overfunded in 22 to underfunded in 2023. So big swing on it looks like on the statement of net position, but doesn't really, there's nothing the IDA can do about that. Those numbers just get reported from the pension system. And then you can see that increase in that position is all down in the unrestricted net position. So that'll be, available to help continue operations as the IDA moves forward. Moving on to page 3 is a look at the income statement, if you will, the operating or the changes in that position. A couple of things that jump out here, you'll see that last year had that really large loss of $700,000 that was related to the transfer of the training facility, getting that off the IDA books. So obviously that didn't happen again this year, and you can see the operations did have a positive, positive operations, both operating income and then non-operating income both had positive results during the 2023 year. The agency fees were up about $140,000, 23 over 22, which is a very positive thing. And then on the expense side of things, part of that, the personal services and employee benefits increased. Part of that was related to the pension system
Page 3.
items that we discussed. So just to bring you up to speed real quick in a couple of sentences, the IDA had positive operations for 2023. The fund balance increased by $115,000 roughly in the operating fund. Had a nice clean opinion on the financial statements, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies.
Okay.
And then moving on to the last page in the IDA document is just to look at the revolving loan fund. You can see a nice summary there. Overall, cash was up and receivables were down. That makes sense. There was a loan that was paid off early, so those funds came in. Not a whole lot of activity in the loan fund. Payments continue to be collected without any issue there. So, and then again, you can see the net position in the revolving loan fund increased by just over $5,000. I know that's really a quick run through the financials of the IDA. Does anybody have any questions about those? One thing I do want to mention, I think the first draft of the management letter for the IDA that was sent out did have a comment related to banking in there. We continued to work with the staff here and talking with the bank, and that item has been corrected. So the updated management letter that you'll see, there are no findings or recommendations
For this year.
for the IDA. So that's good news. It means everything's operating effectively and efficiently as far as keeping track of the books goes. And then in your packets that were here, the bottom document in the IDA packet is the single audit report. We'll go through this pretty quickly unless there are any questions. We did complete the single audit again. Had no findings and no question costs in the report there. I'm sorry, in the packet it says single audit report under the IDA packet. So really, pretty much a very straightforward report, a lot of things that are required by the federal government. This is the audit of the federal dollars that the IDA has on hand to operate that revolving loan fund. So to make you aware of that. in the footnotes, there's a calculation that we have to prepare. It's on page 6. And you can see that that's how the amount that's on the statement was determined of $786,000. So that number is what really drives the need for a single audit, over $750,000 being reported on the schedule is what kicks in that requirement. But just to let you know, so we did our specific program testing on the revolving loan program. Again, no findings or question costs. Everything seems to be in order there. Those are really the highlights I have for the IDA.
Any questions, Bruce? Or?
I do not have questions, Steve.
Okay. And Tom, even though you're not on this, do you have any input, anything to add? Okay. So we've just went and reviewed the audit and management letter and the single audit. Having no questions, yes, we'll treat these both separately. First one, like a motion to recommend approval to the IDA Board of Directors during our March meeting of the IDA audit and management letter.
So moved.
I'll second. Kelly?
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brusso?
Yes.
Mr. Guthrie, absent, motion carried.
Then the second item is need a motion to recommend approval to the IDA Board of the 2023 single IDA audit.
So moved.
I'll second. Kelly?
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brusso?
Yes.
Mr. Guthrie, absent, motion carried.
Okay. Any other business for the IDA? Hearing none, need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. So the IDA portion of the joint audit committee meeting is over. Next, overall on the agenda is the EDC audit committee meeting. Let's see. This will be similar. We do have our quorum. First item on the agenda is everyone received the meeting minutes from our October 24th meeting. Any questions or modifications? Hearing none, need a motion to approve.
So made.
Second?
I was absent, but I'll second it.
Okay. Sure, I'll second, yeah. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Then the highlight is the presentation of the EDC audit and management letter.
Okay. Again, for the EDC, I also handed out another executive summary for the EDC, or Kelly handed out, sorry, excuse me, an executive summary for the EDC, which I'll be going through. EDC really was pretty straightforward operations during the 2023 year. You can see on page 1 of that executive summary, the total net assets decreased by about $16,000 this year. Just the general operating, supporting management and general expenses led to that decrease. On page 1, you can see there's a big variance from 22. The EDC had $600,000 in OCR pass-through funds on the revenue side and on the expense side that weren't there this year. So this year, it was mostly just those administrative expenses, insurance, audit fees that led to the decrease in the total net assets this year. really, the next 2 pages, the remaining 2 pages in here, just reiterate, the same thing we saw on page 1. I'm an accountant, I'm not real creative, so this document does date back to when there was still more other activities in the EDC. We probably don't need to continue with the executive summary moving forward, because it is just the operating fund now. So, again, unmodified opinion, addressing the management letter, there's no findings or recommendations in the management letter for the EDC either. Things operate really effectively and efficiently within the EDC. The bottom line, just, there's about $16,000 in expenses this year. Very minimal revenues to offset that, so that led to the decrease in the net assets. Any questions?
Anything, or Tom? No?
Pretty straightforward.
No, it's just, again, sometime we'll just have to look at EDC a little further instead of just another, 10 years of
Burning through the cash.
running through the
That's-
cash, yeah.
That's a conversation that I'm seeing in a lot of different places right now is, we're just kind of bleeding out these audit fees and insurance fees and legal fees, and seeing some communication with states with the state on possibilities to stop,
Yeah.
just losing those monies. So, you're certainly not the only one.
Okay. Hearing no further questions, I have a motion to recommend approval of the EDC audit and management letter to the full board during our next meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Second?
Kelly?
Mr. Brusso?
Yes.
Mr. Keim?
Yes.
Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Any other business for us? No? Hearing none, have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
So we're done with the Seneca County Economic Development Corporation Audit Committee meeting. Next on the overall agenda is the Seneca County Funding Corp. So Bob, if you could take this one?
All right. We have minutes of the audit committee meeting September 12th. I would accept a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next item is the presentation and recommending approval of the Seneca County County Clerk Board audit.
Okay, and this one in the packet that was provided, very similar to the EDC that we were just talking about, the Funding Corp. If you want to just open up to pages 6, 7, and 8 are the financial statements. In here, you'll see that the total unrestricted net position decreased by $2,900 during the year. Again, that was just the payment of the audit fee for the 2022 audit. No other activity really to talk about, so this is really brief and straightforward. There continues to be one bond outstanding that was issued through the Funding Corp, so that's why the Funding Corp continues to be here until that bond gets paid off in another I think 4 years now. When I was putting this together, 4 years are left on that payment schedule. So and that's kind of talked about a little bit on page 11. So very straightforward. Again, things are working well with the Funding Corp. The bill gets paid We come and do the audit. Any questions about the funding for it?
If there are no questions, I will ask for a motion to approve the audit report for 2023.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. I don't believe is any other business at this point. And with that, I would ask for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.